Good morning. I'm Ray Polzak. Periodically the program committee asks us, the IRRs, to provide you with information on statistics, registry statistics, and also what we've been up to. So that's the purpose of this presentation. This presentation is a joint presentation prepared by all of us working together. And here's what I'll go through. And beginning with the numbers, this is the status as of 31 December 2003 of the IPv4 address space in /8s. And the figure, the bar at the bottom, the central registry, that reflects allocations made not from an IRR. So you're talking about the DDN NIC, you're talking about InterNIC, you're talking about even pre those days, things that John Postel did. So that's what that is. But as you can see, there's still approximately, well, there's 89 in the IANA reserve still that can be allocated. So there's still IPv4 space around. This is the comparison yearly from 1999 to the end of 2003. The allocations of the IRRs to their ISPs and LIRs. And you can see where the larger activity now is in the Asia-Pacific region. And from a cumulative total, this is what it looks like. So roughly each of the IRRs has allocated about 30% of the address space to the ISPs. And LACNIC, being the smallest and newest, is at 2%. AS number assignments, Aaron continues to allocate more AS blocks than anybody else. And from a cumulative standpoint, you can see it's over 50%. IPv6 allocations, you will note that RIPE NCC has really allocated more address space, IPv6 /32s, 35s than anyone else. The other thing that is interesting to note is the fact that Aaron is now allocating more IPv6 space than the Asia-Pacific region is. And looking at it from a cumulative total, you can see that over 50% of it is allocated in the European area. And if you look at it by economies, you can see the top 5, US, Japan, Germany, the Netherlands, and the UK. And then there's 259 other economies where they have basically received 1 or 2 type allocations, maybe 3 or 4. The other thing that's not shown on here is that RIPE NCC has allocated recently a couple of large allocations. One is /31 and the other one is /27. So they're starting to see some growth in even the size of what's being allocated. If you're interested in looking at stats, go to these links. You can go to the ASO website, the IANA website, or any one of the IRR sites. Okay, what have we been up to together? We continue to support the Address Supporting Organization. We run the Secretariat for the Address Council. This year it's being done by RIPE NCC. Last year it was APNIC. From the outreach standpoint, we've been participating in the WSIS. Scott mentioned it yesterday, and if you know about it, you should be worried about it. If you don't know about it, you should find out about it, and then you can be worried about it. So it's a very, very important thing to pay attention to, and it deals with internet governance. And it's going to basically who's going to run the internet. Is it going to be the industry self-regulating like we're used to, or is it going to be governments? So that's what this is all about. Coordination standpoint, at the ARN meeting in Chicago last November, we signed a memorandum of understanding between the 4 IRRs, and we formed the Number Resource Organization, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. We are currently in negotiations with ICANN to come up with a new memorandum of understanding to redo the Address Support Organization. The ERX project is where we're trying to clean up the databases and get the records in the right place because all the legacy records originally resided with ARN, and we're moving them to the RIPE NCC and APNIC as appropriate. A little bit about the NRO. It was signed on the 24th of October. This is the mission statement, and this is why we did it. we formalizing our cooperative efforts. And we specifically are looking to protect the unallocated number resource pool, and we want to protect and promote the bottom-up policy development process. And we also DNRO acts as a focal point for Internet community into the IRR system. So now, for example, if the IATF wants the IRRs to do something, they don't have to figure out which one to go to. They just go to the NRO and it gets taken care of. Here's the way it's organized: an executive council, numbers council, and a secretariat. The executive council members have all been appointed by the boards of the various IRRs, and they are consisting of the CEOs. We formed two groups, a communications coordination group, so we can have common outreach messages, and also an engineering coordination group that which allows our engineers to work together on joint projects. The Numbers Council has been suspended while the negotiations with ICANN are in place, and it will eventually become the new Address Council. And the Secretariat performs the Secretariat functions. And it rotates amongst the IRRs, as does the chair of the Executive Council will rotate amongst the IRRs. APNIC, their services response time is generally now about a day, and there's some of the technical things that they're working on. In my APNIC, they're improving it and doing improvements to their X509 certificate authority. And they're doing some Anycast mirror services in agreement with FRoot, and they're obviously working on database cleanup with everybody else. Policy proposals at APNIC 17. These are upcoming events, and you can just read about these and go to the APNIC website if you're interested. And the APNIC meeting is going to be in conjunction with Apricot in Malaysia in about 2 weeks. Aaron, instead of showing you these activities, I wanted to show you this set of statistics of one activity we're working on. It's recovered resources. And return space is space that been recovered by people voluntarily giving it back. Revoked is space that we've taken back because of non-payment. And reclaimed space is space that we've recovered during hijacking research. So there is space that we are getting back. The trouble with most of the space is that we have to hold on to it for at least a year before we allocate from it. And then the other problem is that a lot of it is fragmented that it would not meet the minimum allocation size for reallocation. So we need to aggregate more of that space back together where we can. Policy proposals. The Internet Policy Proposal Evaluation Process it was ratified by the board and is now in place. It's a revised version of the one we put in place in early 2001. And these are the policies that were deferred at the last ARIN meeting and are currently under discussion again. These are the policy proposals that went to last call. I don't know if you can see that, but it was the residential customer privacy and distributed who-is server use requirements, and then the experimental internet resource allocations. As soon as those get through last call, it will be taken up and considered by the board. And these are the ones that were ratified as a result of discussions on the mail list and at the discussions at the last ARIN meeting. The policy in regards to the African portion of ARIN has not been implemented yet because we have to determine what the fee structure will be for that. And the same thing for the micro assignments for multi-home networks. We need to figure out what the fee for that will be as well. And this is the next ARIN meeting. It's going to be in Vancouver, British Columbia. You're all welcome to come. We got a lot of things going on, policy discussions. We implemented at Chicago what we call a policy BOF, where if you have a policy that you want to discuss, but you want to get some input on it, this is an opportunity for you to get in front of your peers and talk about it. We're going to have some tutorials and training, help desk and learning center will both be active, and we're going to have a really good social event, I'll guarantee you that. And we're going to have our 5th annual football tournament. So please come. LACNIC. The meeting in Santiago, Chile was in April 2003, and then they had a meeting last November in La Habana. And the calls for comments on the experimental allocations in IPv6 policy and the multi-home user microallocation modification is there. These are the policy updates, and there's been quite a bit of discussion on mail list concerning policy item number 2, the IPv6 policy. So I encourage you to go look at the global v6 list and pay attention to that, because it could affect the way that business is done with everybody else. And LACNIC 6 will be in Montevideo, Uruguay, 29th of March to the 1st of April. And you're all welcome to come down there and enjoy it. It's going to be the fall, so it's going to be nice weather. So, RIPE NCC, this is the policy and registration service activities, /21 minimum allocation was implemented on the 1st of January. And since the RIPE NCC is the secretariat, they are the ones that have the editorial token on the comparative policy matrix. This is a document that the IRRs keep updated, which shows all the policies in the regions and how they compare with each other. And they had a sub-regional meeting in Dubai. It was a great success. Their next meeting is going to be in June in Moscow, and then they're going to have one in Nairobi in July. As technical activities, they continue to put out some really good services here. And the next RIPE meeting is going to be in May in Amsterdam, and Axel promises me no ice and no snow in Amsterdam in May, so probably rain though. AFRINIC's the emerging registry. The hosting countries are shown here. The corporate headquarters is in Mauritius. Technical operations will be in South Africa, with Egypt providing a disaster recovery mirroring operation, and Ghana will be responsible for the training coordination. The IRRs are allocating space to Africa from 196/8. Aaron has allocated a /13 to both RIPE NCC and AP-NIC for their use for that. The Aaron Policy 2003-15, the minimum allocation size for Africa in the Aaron region was ratified, as I mentioned earlier, and is currently under discussion in the RIPE NCC. And we are busy working together, the 4 IRs plus AFRINIC, on putting together a transition plan, and hope to see some really good movement in the area this year. Meetings, AFRINIC 1 will be in Dakar on the 23rd and 24th of May. You're welcome to join us there. Aaron will be having a sub-regional meeting in Cape Town in June, and RIPE NCC, as I mentioned earlier, in July will be in Nairobi. So with that, I say thank you, and would entertain any questions you might have.
We have time for a few. Bill.
I have a question which I will defer to Ray on if he feels is inappropriate. One thing that was pointed out is that no fee schedule has been determined yet for the microallocations, and it's something that we discussed a bit and have kind of divergent opinions on, and hadn't heard a lot back from the community yet, partly because I don't think that had been solicited. And I'm curious whether we can ask whether other people have opinions on what the fees for microallocation should be, or whether that's inappropriate.
Well, you're a member of the board, so yes, if anybody does have a comment on what, feel free to speak up, and also this matter will be taken up by the board at their next meeting, and will be discussed and presented at the members meeting in Vancouver.
Okay, so as a board member, I'm really curious what people think the right price for a microallocation membership should be, right? The current price for annual membership at the current minimum size is $2,500 a year, I believe.
Yes.
And so there needs to be some lower price for the new, smaller. Let's see. So current minimum is 20 or 19, depending on whether you're multi-home, and this is down 2 bits from that.
I can't hear you.
Sorry. Current minimum is 20 or 19. Depending on whether you're multi-home, then this is two
It's a /20, and it's a minimum allocation size.
Right. So the new microallocation is down 2 bits from that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so 22. So if you were to receive a 22, 1,024 addresses, what would the right price for an annual ERIN membership be? What we need input on.
Others. Thank you.